After enduring weeks of intense conflict that resulted in the loss of thousands of lives and the displacement of many, a glimmer of hope has emerged. The Israeli government and Hamas have reached a truce, marking a significant step towards cessation of hostilities and opening avenues for potential dialogue. Both sides currently perceive the truce as a victory, seeing it as an opportunity to restore calm and stability to the region. Both the Israeli government and Hamas have acclaimed the truce as a victory, viewing it as an opportunity to restore calm and stability in the region. However, the question arises, what prompted this sudden change from the warring factions, and how enduring is this fragile peace expected to be? Join us as we delve into a comprehensive analysis, uncovering the genuine motivations behind the agreed truce and elucidating the true implications of this pivotal development. Following weeks of intense conflict that resulted in the loss of thousands of lives, Israel and Hamas have reached a historic agreement to cease hostilities and engage in a prisoner and hostage exchange. Mediated by Qatar and the United States, the agreement, announced on Wednesday, November 22nd, outlines a series of steps aimed at easing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and restoring calm in the region. Under the terms of the deal, Hamas will release 50 women and children who were abducted during cross-border raids on October 7th, which triggered the conflict. In return, Israel will release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, some of whom have been held without trial for years. The agreement also includes a 4-day truce, during which the blockade on Gaza will be lifted, allowing humanitarian aid to enter the enclave. This diplomatic breakthrough is seen as a significant step toward lasting peace and a political solution to the conflict. Israel's prime minister detailed the first stage of the plan, involving the release of 50 hostages over 4 days, with a corresponding pause in the fighting. The U.S. has confirmed the initiation of the long-awaited release of hostages, including 3 Americans, providing relief to their families. Qatar, in its statement, affirmed its commitment to ongoing diplomatic efforts to de-escalate tensions and protect civilians. The deal's impact on the people of Gaza is substantial, as it allows for the entry of humanitarian convoys and relief aid, addressing the critical shortages of food, water, medicine, and fuel caused by the blockade and the conflict. Additionally, the agreement facilitates the evacuation of the wounded and the dead, as well as the repair of damage caused by airstrikes and shelling. This development is a positive step towards alleviating the long-standing humanitarian crisis in the region. The agreement presents a vital opportunity for the people of Gaza to experience temporary relief and aspire to a lasting peace and political solution. However, it is acknowledged that the deal is fragile and temporary, failing to address the root causes of the crisis, including occupation, blockade, internal divisions, and the lack of human rights and dignity. The potential for violation or breakdown of the deal by any involved party remains a concern, risking a new escalation of violence and suffering. The people of Gaza require more than a temporary agreement. They need a just and comprehensive resolution that brings an end to the cycle of death and destruction while ensuring their freedom and dignity. While Hamas and other Palestinian militant groups are holding an estimated 240 Israelis and foreigners hostage in Gaza, Israel has announced a 4-day pause in its 6-week-old air, land, and sea assault to facilitate the release. Despite this, Israel's prime minister emphasizes that this does not signify the end of the war. The commitment to continue the war is aimed at securing the return of all hostages, eliminating Hamas, and preventing new threats to Israel from Gaza. Hamas has expressed a positive response to the announced humanitarian truce, committing to the ceasefire and releasing 150 Palestinians from Israeli jails as a goodwill gesture. The success of the truce depends on the willingness of both parties to honor the agreed-upon conditions, and the international community closely monitors developments to assess the level of commitment. Despite opposition from within Israel's right-wing coalition, particularly concerns about potential concessions, the government proceeded with the deal, influenced by the humanitarian aspect of the situation. The complexities surrounding the truce underscore the challenges of achieving a comprehensive and lasting resolution to the conflict. The government's decision to pursue the truce was driven by empathy for the suffering and anxiety of Israeli families awaiting the return of their loved ones. The deal was perceived as a means to alleviate their pain and reunite them with relatives. Striking a balance between the political and security implications and the human and emotional costs of the conflict was a complex consideration. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, a hawkish leader, reassured the public that the deal did not signify weakness or surrender. He emphasized its temporary nature to address the immediate crisis, clarifying that it did not mark the end of the war against Hamas. Gallant stated that the government and military would persist in pursuing and destroying Hamas until the threat from Gaza was eliminated. Security operations would continue at full force after the specified phase. Despite the potential positive impact of the truce, individuals in Gaza, such as Camille Hodai, expressed skepticism until they received confirmation of the release of their loved ones. The sentiment reflects the widespread uncertainty and the profound impact of the conflict on those waiting for news. Both sides asserted that the truce was not a sign of peace, but a temporary measure for the hostage exchange, with vows to continue their respective fights until their goals were achieved. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu affirmed that Israel was at war and would not cease until Hamas was destroyed, hostages were returned, and Gaza posed no threat. Hamas, in its statement, maintained readiness to defend its people and defeat the occupation despite the truce. While some hope the truce might be a step toward broader and lasting peace, there is ongoing international condemnation of Israel's actions. Russia, among others, expressed support for the Palestinian cause, denounced collective punishment in Gaza, called for an immediate ceasefire, and urged negotiations for a Palestinian state based on 1967 borders. Russia emphasized the importance of involving regional countries, praised the efforts of Egypt and Qatar in mediating, and hoped the deal would pave the way for lasting peace. Egypt's foreign minister Sameh Shoukry appreciated Russia's support and called for more action at the UN Security Council to achieve a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Egypt drafted a resolution addressing the imbalance in delivering humanitarian aid and emphasized the goal of forcing residents to leave through continuous bombardment of the displaced people in the south.